A player that I'm a lot higher on than the consensus, and Jake, I'd love your take on this too, is DeAndre Swift. Jake Fabian and I got into it a little bit over DeAndre Swift because DeAndre Swift is probably on his way out in Philly. And if anyone signs him as a free agent, the Eagles get a compensatory 4th-round pick, which is what they ended up trading for the Lions for Swift anyways. But I am always a sucker for these athletic, high spike week, high juke rate, elusive running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And even if he lands on a loser team, he could get the volume where it's access to top 5 weeks, top 7 weeks, top 10 weeks. And if anything, I think the Philadelphia Eagles were limiting his pass catching in that offense. Is Jalen Hurts running the ball or throwing downfield? He's not looking to check it down very often. So a 10% target share in that type of offense, I thought was pretty impressive. I have DeAndre Swift at running back 16 in my way too early. I just like taking bets on these types of guys. How are you approaching a DeAndre Swift where he's probably going to be a high-end running back too, but we don't know what his future is going to be like?
Yeah, DeAndre Swift's a guy, I think it depends on the format that I'm playing. Right, I'm a lot more likely to draft DeAndre Swift in a best ball situation than I am in a just normal redraft situation. And the reason for that is I think that you're right. He does have access to spike weeks, but knowing when those are going to come is a completely different thing. He was the guy in Philadelphia this year, but the fact that he couldn't make it work on his second team now, and you saw his carries start to be reduced towards the latter half of the year. And that's concerning to me, the fact that hasn't been able to stick on 2 teams in 4 seasons in the NFL. So I think there's a little bit of a question mark there, and that's partially what's giving me pause on fully attacking DeAndre Swift, but also needing to see where he lands too, if he does decide to move on from the Eagles, because that is going to be a huge factor.
Yeah, Swift this year, a 3.1% rate of running back 1 weeks. That is scoring 23 fantasy points and half point or more. Swift 9.3% of the time was at least 18.5, and then 30% of the time was at 12.5. So between that 18 and 12.5. So 42% of the time, DeAndre Swift got at least 12.5 fantasy points for you and a half PPR. That was good for running back 28 on the season. And his best ball value rating, you talk about better in a best ball situation, he's running back 26 in best ball value rating this season, behind the likes of a Brian Robinson, behind the likes of Kenneth Walker and James Conner. So we did see DeAndre Swift maybe mellow out a little bit, but the athleticism is just so tantalizing for me. This is a back to the well, and maybe I'm too stupid to quit type of person, but nevertheless, I think that Swift still belongs in that high to mid running back 2 spot.
Yeah, we all have one of those guys, right? For me, it's going to be Aaron Jones, and I'm going to be drafting Aaron Jones until his legs fall off or he retires, whichever one happens first. But yeah, I think that there is certainly a case to be made for DeAndre Swift. Would I have him as high as RB16? Probably not. But I think he's definitely in the conversation of being drafted in the mid rounds for fantasy purposes.